Hey guys, welcome to the video, welcome to the channel. My name is Will and I'm gonna do a little bit of quick housekeeping if I can. Let's see if I can find... I'm actually not on the right screen, so I'm gonna leave it for now. That's a shame. Anyway, yeah, I should have prepared it anyway. I just want to move. Sorry guys, this won't take too long. I'm not dual screening, so it's a little bit trickier to kind of handle what's going on. I don't want to be too distracting. But we're gonna do quite a fun topic today actually. Just gonna... Here it is. We're going to be looking at LAN, sockets, and how to implement functionality into a game project. So I'm just going to go ahead and share the link on my handle. It's not going to take too long. Make sure that goes through. I think that's the wrong link, by the way. No, it's fine. Had some issues with that earlier. Awesome. I'm just going to check my dashboard. Looking good. Put that to one side. Alright guys, hi, sorry for the delay, my name is Will, welcome to the channel. So in this particular video, what I want to do is to kind of explore a very fundamental, rudimentary level, how to implement sockets in the overall context of developing a very simple 2D game. This kind of bounces off from my previous live stream where I made the Tic-tac-toe game. And at the bottom of my notes, if you remember, if you did watch that live stream, you would have seen that at the bottom of my notes, I had a little bit of a further challenges section. Put LAN functionality for local multiplayer in my Tic-tac-toe game. Or perhaps build a snap game, like something else to do afterwards. Since I made the Tic-tac-toe game, I thought it might be cool to kind of explore sockets, as it's a very interesting library. It gives you a rich set of sockets functionality that you can implement in your C# applications. And yeah, I want to kind of explore through an agenda today what we can do with regards to leveraging sockets to create a LAN network, a LAN, local area network. Did I just cancel that? I think I just did. And grab my notes quickly. To create a local area network in order to basically accommodate for local multiplayer for a very simple PC game built on UWP. So the agenda is going to be quite a bit. This might be split into like a couple sessions or so because I don't want to kind of overrun with time. What else was I going to go through? Let's have a quick look. You know what? I'm not too sure, so we're going to jump straight into this. Yeah, that's it. I want to just kind of refresh your memory from the last live stream. Just gonna show you a demonstration of what I made last time. But before we do that, let's go into the sockets quickly, actually. So the agenda is to build a simple proof of concept game that features LAN connectivity for local multiplayer. What was the name of that game? It was the Tic-tac-toe, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. I think I got a deployment. A really chilled stream, guys. I'm gonna just kind of go through the agenda and explain what I'm doing with sockets. As you can see on the left-hand side, I have my project set up. Right now, I am testing things within one solution. So I have an overall solution for LAN mode, and I have two projects. I have a LAN mode project, which is actually a universal Windows library project type, whereby I'm writing my client server and packet handling all in this particular project, which is a library type for UWP. And then I have in the solution, it's in the same scope, just for the sake of not having to open like two Visual Studio sessions. Just makes things a lot more simpler when you're testing and stuff. I have a sockets test app universal Windows platform application, which is just simply a UWP front that just allows me to kind of test bench my library using a UWP project. What I want to do quickly, I want to see if I can just get my Tic-tac-toe up, which is right here actually. Don't know if it's going to run properly. Because usually when you make a UWP app, you get like the deployment file straight in your start menu. So let's just see if this works. Basically, how I did this from the last stream is that you can play a game of Tic-tac-toe. Let me see if it works. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, so I programmed this before. You know, nothing very fancy. Let's see, I make a diagonal line to win the match. The game just literally just disappears when you win, right? I didn't get much further than that. And it was just the proof of concept was laid down. So the stream took just basically around 3 hours. I was explaining things and I was just having a little bit of fun. And I just blocked myself. Let's make another diagonal line. Actually, let's make a right-hand side line. I'm getting so confused. There we go. So yeah, simple tic-tac-toe. So I want to kind of take this concept, this game idea, which I already programmed, and I want to give it functionality such that you can play a game of tic-tac-toe with someone else on the same local area network. Most likely going to be on the local host, right? Your local host machine and another machine operating on its local host on the same network. So we're going to kind of dive into how this might be achieved. We're going to explore this. This is the kind of game I want to program. I'm going to use this template, and yeah, we're going to kind of test things out. So let's kind of follow the agenda. I just wanted to show you for a little bit of background. What we're going to do first, we have to test the LAN mode library for simple socket connectivity. So what I'm going to do, already off screen, I was working a bit on this library. Let me just kind of get it up on my Solution Explorer. So I got the LAN mode Universal Windows Library project type. I think it's the project type. Yeah, it's the. Yeah, thought it might be something else. I have three namespaces: client, which has a LAN client. I'll just show it to you now. It might be a little bit slow, and I'm hoping that things don't kind of disconnect while I play around with sockets. I don't know if, because as far as my ports are concerned, they shouldn't really interrupt the stream. But if anything like that happens, any disconnects or whatever, I'll probably be up and running and see what I can do to kind of circumvent any issues. Just gonna quickly check my stream, make sure everything's there, looking good. I'm gonna try and keep this to like an hour so it doesn't kind of drag on too long. So this class in my client namespace, what it does, it basically calls the implementation. So I have here NetSockets.com client, which is another class which I've constructed here at the top. The code is far from optimized. I'm just trying to get everything running so I know what's going on. Calls this connect function. We're going to just dive straight in. And this is my NetSocket.com client class, which is you can see here on the Solution Explorer. And all it really does, it initializes a socket here, takes, let me just zoom in a little bit. It's running on the TCP protocol, but with that being said, there's not much in terms of validation going on my part to kind of make sure that information is sent. There's not much validation in place to check what's actually going on with my packets, but that's the protocol type I've opted for. Socket type stream, it's a network, the address family. I establish a connection first by excuse me, searching for the IP address of the local machine, and then with the local machine IP address and the port number, which I specified, I just hard coded it for testing purposes as 1920, it's like 1920. Then what I do with that is I use that to create a socket, and with that socket I can begin a session essentially. Really, this is the client side thing. So what the client actually does. First, before the client can actually interact with the server has to be listening for the client. So what I do is, quite similarly, I have this LAN server class, which just calls the implementation of my network logic. And I have here netsocket.com, which is actually for the netsocket.com. We can dive straight in because there's this bind function. And all it does, in this bind function, what I'm doing is, again, I'm looking for the IP address of the local machine. Everything's running on one computer on my tower right now, but since we're still running off sockets off the local area network, it doesn't really matter, and it's just so much more simpler at this stage to do everything on one PC rather than having two PCs and kind of switching between the two to see what's going on. That could be, I think, more at a later stage. And anyway, so what I'm doing eventually in this function, I'm calling socket.bind, and then after that, I actually call this listen function. So this is actually in the LAN mode class, which calls all the implementations, as you can see just there on the little IntelliSense. Call listen. I'm calling accept twice, which I'm not too sure about. I don't know why I did that there. Kind of overlooked. So I'm calling accept here, but I'm already calling it in my class, so that might be something I need to just kind of refine. And yeah, and then what am I doing next? So yeah, that's listening. And then what the client does, I should have probably just demonstrated this first just to avoid any issues. I did test it beforehand. I don't want to kind of make any mistakes or adjustments before I do anything, before we dive in. Let me quickly check the LAN clients. Yeah, so I'm calling connects. And then what eventually happens with this configuration, I have I pass I think like a delegate type. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm actually passing this function callback connect into the overload of begin connect. What that allows me to do, if I'm not mistaken, I'm still kind of learning my way through sockets, so I might be a little bit wrong. So do feel free to correct me or enlighten me or the chat in the chat section. Is that when if the socket is connected, basically at this stage here, if socket.connected, then I go on to form a packet, and this should really get called when the client connection has been accepted, if I'm not mistaken. I can use debugging just to home in on this. But if the socket has been connected, then all of this will fire. And then what I'm trying to basically do here, I'm not too sure about this one, socket begin receive. Begins to asynchronously receive data from a connected socket. The main thing here is that I have this message here, hello world, and this is in the client class. And I basically have a packet handler, which I don't know if I'm calling here. I'm just gonna quickly have a look if I can find it. I would have thought I'm calling the packet handler here, but in any case, I'm basically placing this text in a packet, and then I'm sending the packet over. As you can see here, I have my socket, and then my server should pick up on the packet. If I go back and hop to the server, I have this received on connection callback. So what the server then does is it says, okay, I'm going to call this decompile packet, which is a function in my class called a packet handler class. It takes in as a parameter a packet, a byte packet, and then all I'm doing, very simple stuff. I'm just saying, okay, get a string message contained in this byte packet buffer, and then what I actually do, put that in a scope whereby my test bench, which I happen to make it as a UWP application front. My UWP application, what I'll do, I'll run it in a hot minute. I'm gonna probably build everything again. I was having some issues with directories. I had to keep building stuff, but we'll see if that's an issue. If it is, I know how to fix it. I have this polling block, and it's in the UWP application. What it does, if the packet buffer rather, is empty, nothing happens. But if the packet buffer has been updated such that I have received a packet and I haven't stored the value of the packet in the scope of this UWP project, so there's a discrepancy here, this will evaluate for true. And that will come down here. I will then display the text message of the packet buffer on a XAML control, and we should be able to see this hello world message on the UWP front, which is in this main page XAML. It should show up from here. Sweetness. So what I'm going to do is fire the UWP project. Hopefully there's no issues as I was having earlier with the directories, because what happened is that I don't know, I was having some strange directory issues, so I kind of put everything, I recompiled the project, I rebuilt it from any CPU target architecture to just like x86, because I usually target 32-bit anyway, to kind of just like to be on the safe side. You know, if you're running the application on a 64-bit machine or 32-bit machine, it will work on both. And I had to just keep building my directories because I had stale my code. Every time there was a discrepancy when I update it, it would just like step over the debugging break I would set. It was kind of weird. But anyway, that's just another story. Let's just hope that this works altogether if I can show you this demonstration eventually. So long story cut short, TLDR, we should hopefully see on this UWP project on the monitor here where it says packet data can be monitored here. Once I listen for requests, I'm establishing the server. I'm hoping if everything has gone all right from before the stream till now, if I haven't changed anything, we should ideally see hello world, but let's see what happens. So I'm gonna write listen for requests, request connection to server, so it's establishing the client bit. And if you can see, it might be a little bit hard to see. I'm gonna try and maximize that. It doesn't quite say hello world. It says LLO world. I'm missing some data. And this did happen to me off screen before. So the good news is we do have sockets communication over a local host network, over a local network. But the bad news to say is that there is a bit of loss in the sense that the information has come back. For some reason, the first three initials HEL of hello is not showing. So I'm quite happy with the fact that the networking, code is working in the sense that it is transmitting and receiving information, and but there's not much in terms of validation, even within the scope of how to really have this communication in like. So, for example, now what I've done, the client spoke to the server, and I observed the packet in the UWP project. Two things to note is that that packet handler is kind of like within the same scope of the library and the application, which is something I might need to take into account, because if I have two discrete game sessions running on two different solutions, I don't want them to share one packet manager. They need to have their own copies of the library in their own discrete scopes. So that's something I might need to look into. But for now, it works in the sense of it gives us a little fair idea if we're on the right track, which we are. I was going to make another point which I completely forgot. Anyway, so that's the demonstration of this. So we have our UWP from. I'm just going to close that quickly. Don't know how far we're going to get in the stream. Again, I'm going to try and keep it to like an hour, maybe hour and a half max. I do not want to overstep that mark. And I'll just basically go in parts. So I'll just do it like in different parts, because I think a 3-hour stream might be a little bit too long. Maybe I'll do long streams on the Telegram channel. I am planning and preparing the Telegram channel. Link is in the description if you want to check it out, but there's not much there in terms of content just yet. A little bit of a shout out. So we've tested the LAN mode library for simple sockets connectivity. I've walked you guys through what's going on. Go through the sockets implementation. I showed you guys that as well just now. So what I'm going to actually do is to compile the LAN mode project, which is the name of my little library, my sockets library, into a DLL such that I can actually run the DLL component and call its functionality from a UWP project that is actually a game project. So as I showed you earlier, the Tic-tac-toe. And I have a little diagram, very basic diagram that I drew. Again, I'm not a professional artist, but anyway, what am I trying to say? I have two game solutions, and imagine they are the Tic-tac-toe games I showed earlier. And what I'm trying to aim for, excuse me, is that say this is us playing in one machine, and on the same network we have another copy of the game, and the game runs a solution which contains the main game project, which has the main front for the game. You also have a sockets component, which allows communications via sockets to create a LAN network, just like quite similar to what I showed you just now. And also just like a little bit of a database save game component to allow for maybe save data over a simple SQL database, or maybe just XML files, which the game just looks up. Something very simple for this proof of concept. And then these games are connected via these game sessions are connected on the same network via a LAN sockets communication. That's what I'm trying to establish. So we're going to try and do this step by step, and I believe it will take more than one session of streaming, but that's fine. I'll just minimize that. Gonna just make sure everything's fine, that the stream didn't cut off or anything. Okay, so I'm still live. That's excellent. All right, so where are we now? So I want to compile the LAN mode project into a DLL. The first thing to do with that, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to test this I'm going to try and call this from the Tetris game, as I said, but then it's very likely for any coding and modifications, I'm actually going to be doing it in this solution, which is my LAN mode solution, which contains my test bench and also contains my implementation classes here, because I don't want to kind of get confused with two different directories with two different versions of code. What I want to do right now, as the test bench is calling the functionality, I want to call the functionality in the Tetris game first. So it's going to be, I think the most ideal way to do this would be to have the game running, but also have the test bench running. But the game's going to be relying on the library, which I think I wrote down here somewhere. Let me see what I wrote. Import the test library in a social game project in a different solution. I think I wrote that I'm going to use it against the test bench. Yeah, so run tests between the social game prototype and the test bench. I don't want to jump the gun. I think it'd be kind of fun to explore what we can do with that. I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to build each project, and then I'm going to basically reference the DLL in my tic-tac-toe game. Don't know if I said Tetris earlier. I did mean tic-tac-toe if I said Tetris. So let's build the socket test app first. Let's build that individually. And I'm going to build the LAN mode, which is the library. I think I have the directory up here. I'm not sure. Yeah. No, I don't. I have to find it. See my 2023 projects. Hope you're all having a good new year, by the way. Build succeeded, so I'm going to go ahead and click LAN mode. I'm going to go ahead and pick build and click build LAN mode this time. So what are we aiming to do? Very simply put, before we do any extensive configuration and testing, I just want to make sure I can call the library functionality from the scope of a different project, basically, being the tic-tac-toe game. Build succeeded, that's fine. And I don't want to run too many Visual Studio sessions because last time I did that, the stream crashed because I already ran out of memory. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just make sure I'm just going to make sure everything is in like a scope that I can check discreetly. So I'm going to check this quickly. Public is fine for now. For testing. Make sure this is in public scope. Everything else, is fine. And let me just check that class. I even forgot what this initialize does. If it does anything at all. LAN client just makes a LAN client initialization. LAN client, which I think I'm doing elsewhere already. I'm not sure what it's doing though. I just need to hop to my LAN client. I want to see this. Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, so it just initializes this basically. That's kind of interesting. Let's see what that is. Okay, I understand. So what I have to do is okay, that's how I did it. So this initialize function basically just calls and constructs the LAN client class. So I just have to make sure that I call initialize. I'm going to make a note of that because even I will kind of overlook that. So always good. I always find it good to take notes. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to call the initialize class, or rather construct. I'm gonna call connect to server. Let me see what am I doing there actually. Let me double check it. LAN client goes in. Just worried because there's no references to this, so I'm not too sure. I think I'm just literally doing it straight from there, from the UWP app. I'm just constructing the LAN client, but I might as well do it this way. I think it's kind of cool. It kind of simplifies it a little bit. So after I do that, I'm going to call connect to server. Initialize class. Oh no, sorry. I'm going to call this function. Initialize. But before I even do that, I need to set up the server. See how I'm doing this. So the server is not going to be, in this case, I didn't really make a diagram to help show, so I might do it quickly in the notes. But I'm going to have the test bench as the server, and I'm going to have the client as the game. I'm not sure how this is going to pan out off the bat, but hopefully it should work. So let's say run the test bench to listen for requests. Hopefully this makes sense as I go. And then after I do that, then I'm going to construct initialize from the client. Make notes so I don't get lost. And then I'll say tic-tac-toe game front. Tic-tac-toe project's better. And then I do the rest. Okay, that's fine. I can simply call this. I hope I don't need to. Yeah, it's fine. I can call this from my start menu, I think, because the socket, the test bench is the start. I set it as the startup project. So what I did, I right-clicked, set as startup project. So as soon as this solution fires, it will start with the test bench, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm quite happy to just save this once more and just close that. Excuse me. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to revisit my tic-tac-toe solution. This was quite fun to make. It was a good stream. Except for my coffee, it's quite warm. Still nice. Let's have a look at what's going on. How are we doing for time? Just about half an hour. Whilst that's loading, I'm going to see if I can just quickly. Actually, there's no need. LAN mode. Just to make sure I know where my directory is. So it's LAN mode, bin, should be on the x86, I think. Debug. Yeah, yes, LAN mode.dll. So this is what I want to reference in this particular project on the left-hand side. I want to reference the LAN mode solution, which I already built as a library for UWP. So every time I build it, it updates this library. As long as I got my directories right, I hope I didn't get it mixed up. And I just want to reference it here. I don't know if I'm referencing any other things in here. Just Win2D, which I used to make the game, as I demonstrated in the beginning. Do excuse me. So let's see what happens. Let's just first run this project, make sure everything works. It should be exactly the same as the one I started at the beginning of this stream. It shouldn't take too long. Let's move this down a little bit. And I can just resize this quickly. Let's wait for that to load. Okay, that's my tic-tac-toe. Then you just give it a test. So, in case you guys were not aware, because I didn't explain it at the beginning, the way I'm placing these tiles is just using the number pad. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you just place where you want the tiles to go. In this single player format, or this multiplayer format rather, 2 players use the same keyboard. That's why it alternates automatically. So 1, and then I can put X in the middle. I can put 3 in the bottom middle. Oh, sorry. I could put 0 in the bottom middle like that. Let's put that down. Let's make the red tile win like that. One more game. Actually gets quite fun. Not gonna lie. And then super that. Okay, we've got that running. That's fine. Good to see. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hit projects, add reference, and I want to basically find this file path. Already have over there actually, which is quite good. But nonetheless, I'm going to browse to be on the safe side. So January, LAN mode, binary. I think that stands for binary, I'm not too sure, guys. x86 debug, and it should be this one here. 644, 644. Just want to double check. Okay. Now, of course, like I said, I don't want to keep decompiling the library in this scope to like code it, to edit it. So I'm just gonna test things here, see what does and what might work, what might not work off the bat. But then what I'm going to do is then close this, work off my other solution, the actual LAN mode solution containing the library itself, rather than decompiling this in debug mode and stuff. I think it'll be just less confusing that way. But I want to see off the bat if anything works here. Which means I do have to run my test bench at the same time. So let's first put our namespaces here. So I'm going to make a little note here so you guys can see what I'm trying to achieve. So let's see, I might actually cross that off since we've just done that. Made that a DLL. So the idea, again, this is going to be an example. So firstly, make a move on Tic-tac-toe. And then what should happen, hopefully, is I want the LAN component to send a message to the test bench. What am I doing? As such. If I can verify this, then I might need this to open in debug mode. Because the game is looking to send to the component, but we won't really know what's going on. I guess we just have to assume it's okay with virtue of the fact that it won't lock up, but that won't be good enough. So what I'll do, if it does keep running, I'll assume everything is working, but then I'll have to go back into debug mode to truly confirm it. So what I'll do, I'll add the code here, then I'll save it, then I'll run the test bench in debug mode. That way I can debug the information coming in, hopefully if I've coded everything right. So let's see. So we have here 3 namespaces: controllers, which has for Tic-tac-toe my input parser and the resource controller class. Models deals with all the draw update calls and the animation stuff. Again, if you want to look into this a little bit more deep, you can check out my live stream from earlier, how to make a tic-tac-toe game. And I got load animated resources. Now, I'm thinking of either using the controllers to have the networking information or have a dedicated network class. I think I'd rather do a networking class on its own. Don't really want to kind of change this up too much since it all kind of works in a, to a okay spec. Nothing's breaking so far. So what I'll do, oops. So right click, add new folder, and it'll just make things easier to read as well. Net. Should I say LAN or networking? I'll say networking because the library has like LAN in it. I don't want to get too confused. Networking, and yeah, I actually imported the library already, so I'm gonna say add class. Maybe I'll call it LAN component. So class LAN component .cs. I'm gonna keep it fairly simple, not overthinking it. Just kind of get the proof of concept working before I try and refine anything. It's going to be called within scope of the solution, so I'll keep it internal for now. I want to see if I got a reference to my LAN mode. I have to, let's see what happens. There it is, my LAN mode namespace. Thank goodness it came up. And I have my client, packet, and server, which is good to see them all there. So what I'll do first, I don't think doesn't make a difference. Let's be on the safe side. I'll import all of those classes. Oh, I said classes, more like namespaces. Server, and then the packet handler. Is it packet? Yeah. Sweetness. Now the funny thing is that initialize routine wasn't in any namespace, so I might not be able to call. Actually, I might be able to call it. It really should be somewhere in its own namespace. But anyway, what am I doing? So I'm gonna go ahead and just like give the class constructor just in case I might need such. Let's have a look. So when I construct this class, I want to call my initialization routine. So what I'm going to do, what's the best way to go about what I'm trying to achieve here? Let me check something. Do I have to go to that LAN mode? Initialize? Yeah, it's right there. So what I'll do, I'll call the initialize. I keep saying call, like I'm going to declare here. I'm gonna instantiate it. Have to pass anything? I don't think so. And then there should be a function that should be visible here. Initialize client. But I don't really want this in the constructor, just directly like that. Put it in another function. That was funny. I'm gonna call this somewhere else in the program, probably in the constructor of the game, main game itself, just to have a bit more flexibility what I'm doing. Alright, so that will initialize the client. As for the server, so, oh yes, before we jump to the server bit, which will be the test bench, I'm gonna call this, what should I call this? We've got the main game. I mean, I don't want to really leave it in the main page file. I'll put it in controllers for now. The thought though is that if I have, say, in the UI a button that says connect to LAN, where would the functionality take me? Yeah, for now, I'll just put it in the controllers. Oh, I don't even know what I'm saying. It's late. I have the networking class anyway. It's just where do I want to call it? I guess I could just leave it here. Yeah, so as to not think about it too much. Why not? It's a proof of concept. So I'll do it after all the main Win2D stuff has been loaded. So I'll just say, okay, I'll make a networking class. Just declare it at the top. Call the networking namespace rather, LAN component. And I'll say LAN mode. I'll just say LAN component, keep it simple. Declare it there at the top. Components, got it. What's this? It's less accessible. Oh yeah, it's internal, isn't it? So what I'll do, I'll just make it public now. Go back. And then I'll construct this class here somewhere. Okay. And then when I've constructed it, I'll call my client functionality, which is called in the initialize function, which effectively turns my game session, my game program into a client for my test bench, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, so what I demonstrated earlier, as with regard to the client side, should all be taken care of now in this particular scope. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to save it once more. Yeah, I'm going to close this. And I'm going to open my test bench. Now, if I can basically get the connection working here, then it's just a case of, okay, the game uses the library to connect to the server. So from that, we'll go to the next step, is basically the messages we send, we want it to be based on the moves that we make in tic-tac-toe. At this point, it will just be like sent from the game to the test bench. It might be something like, I'll just keep it simple, it will be like numbers 1 to 9, and they all basically represent the move played in the game. Remember, I said you control the tic-tac-toe via 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 number pad. And we just want to monitor that on the test bench. It's going to be the next phase. So that's going to be this bit here. Let's check this. This is going to be the next one. So now that we have the test bench solution up, let's see. Go to the main page. So the idea is I don't want to run the client mode. Remember, I clicked 2 buttons. I'm going to go ahead and press this. My worry is that I just hope the network, because I know I will definitely run into some issues. That's how you overcome these hurdles in order to make anything work in code anyway. So I'm not expecting it to be like 100% smooth. There's obviously going to be some issues along the way. I'll just wait for this to load. Here we go, sockets test hub. That should be my test bench. I hope that's the right entry point. Excuse me. Now I want to also run the tick game as the client. Right now, I can run this as a client by clicking this button after I click the server. That's not really the point of what we're doing. What that will do is obviously it will send the packet message hello world, but it will be a bit lossy, so it won't see the whole hello bit. But we'll see the message here nonetheless. Hopefully, if I click listen for server, I'm going to quickly get my tic-tac-toe up, and on construction of the game, we should hopefully get the same response. This is just a very ad hoc test. Let's give it a shot. Listen for requests. Tic-tac-toe. Not too sure what's going to happen. Okay, so nothing has happened so far. Bit of a shame. And we're going to see if there's any activity. And I'm going to make sure this is actually hopefully the right version of tic-tac-toe, because I didn't deploy the app after I made the changes. So what I just selected here may not be what I actually modified. So what I'll do quickly, I'll go to the server. Actually, you know what? I'll go to the packet handler, because it will end up in the packet handler anyway. Decompile packet. Is this called by the server? If it isn't, I can put a break here. Or is it called by the client? Let me see where it is. Yeah, netsocketcom server. Now I don't want to put 2 Visual Studios up because I know what might happen. So what I'm going to do, shouldn't really be testing like this, but I'm just really curious to see what happens. Maybe it should just be debugging. Stick it to debugging as it is with the test bench, but I just want to see what happens. So I'm going to go back to tic-tac-toe. I could have 2 Visual Studios, but the stream literally just died when I did that. I gotta work like this. Fun now. Till I upgrade my machine. Alright, with this, make sure I deploy this. By deploying, I mean like actually pressing start, and maybe we can track the change somehow. Maybe we can put like a message dialog or something, so we know that this is the modified version. So I'll go to the main page example, and let's place a little bit of a pop-up message. Hopefully this will work. So on the main UI thread, I'll say message dialog. I'll say, I don't know, MSG for message. It's my laptop notification. I'm not sure what that's even about. Message. I'm going to construct this. Get a quick message up on screen. Let's say client component initialized. So we'll know what version we're on if we get a pop-up, basically. Hopefully this will work. Just double check this initialize core, initialize line. Because I'm not running this in debug mode, it's obviously a bit of an issue. If any issues, I'll just start debugging separately. So I'm going to go ahead and run it in debug, and then I might run it in release. I don't know if that makes a difference. Oh, I didn't show the message box. Oops. I constructed it, but I didn't show it. So I'll just have to wait and then core show dialog async, whatever the method is. Hopefully that'll work. Refresh this page. Okay. I forgot to show the pop-up, so I'll do just edit the code a little bit. Same message. Was it show async? Show async. Should be an issue with this not being in there. I can put it in this function. It's audio async, so I'll make use of it. Why not? What I wanted this pop-up to work when there's a winner, basically. I'll just put this in global scope. Because there's an async function sitting around there doing nothing, why not? I'll just use it. I can use it later also. So hopefully pop-up comes up. Give that a run. See how we're doing for time. So we've got just about, literally just about over 10 minutes. If I want to stick to an hour. Really not a lot of time to work with, but don't really want to keep this too long. Makes it quite hard to watch, I guess. Yeah, sweet. So we have update client component initialized. So we know this is working, and well, when I say working, I know that this is functioning, like it's been called, this initialize function. And it just means that when I run it on the start menu, I know that it's the modified version, this slightly updated version of the app. I'm not sure if the start version runs on release mode directory, so I don't think that'll mess up my libraries. I'll just run it in release, which is not actually release, it's just without debugging symbols loaded. Alright. Now, can I run it just like this? What's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. There we go. Update client component initialized. So we know that's up to date. At least we know. So that means I can close this. I can even like debug terminal messages and stuff. That'd be quite fun to do. But one step at a time. I'm going to go back to my, that was Tic-tac-toe. I'm going to go back to my test bench, mode solution. And let's just see if anything happens. Nothing might happen at all, by which I have to just debug a little bit and see what's going on. Maybe I have to risk just running two Visual Studios together just to make things a bit easier. Otherwise, I'll just test everything in the solution file, recompile my DLLs, and then load it as a reference back into my Tic-tac-toe and just hope everything runs. I think I spelled that right. I really don't. Okay, so let's go back here. Right, so I'm gonna run this. In terms of the source code being available, I did make my Tic-tac-toe available on my Bitbucket repo. I'm not going to put this straight away on the Bitbucket, but once the library is in a presentable state or like some kind of functional state kind of thing, I may just place it in a repo there. So do stick out for that. Stay tuned. I'll keep you guys updated for that. Let's see. So I'm going to listen for requests. I'm gonna fire Tic-tac-toe. I don't think anything happened, unfortunately. Fascinating. So let's dive into this and see what's actually going on. Let's get to the root of this. The first thing I want to try and do if I go into this, if I go into my first I'll stop this. I'll go into my server component. Except, so what happens is that if I'll show this in local scope to show you guys what actually should be happening. So this, I've listened for I set the server to a listening state. The client component in this solution will actually call this on the server, this received on connection callback. There was a precondition I wanted to show you guys to show the socket connected, but anyway, all this stuff happens. And what's funny, if I press that twice, I usually get an error, I think. A connect request was made on an already connected socket. So again, that's something that validation has to kind of sort out. Can't like try and connect twice without the correct kind of validation going through. So let's kind of see what's going on here. So I think my best bet is to debug on the client and the server side. So I might just have two VSs up, two Visual Studios, but first I'm going to just go back to my Netcom server. Yeah, we got a break there. I'm going to do my best to debug this with Visual Studio up. There's not a lot of apps running right now, so hopefully I can get away with it. I'm going to try and see what's going on. So just a little bit of a forewarning, guys. If anything does DC, I'm just going to hop straight back on. So this is LAN mode. I'm going to click Tic-tac-toe. I hope it just holds up. So fun. Let's see what happens. I mean, what's funny is the fact that, like, just the way the PC crashed last time. I'm just sitting there like, wow. Actually, I'm into like building PCs. I know back in the days I built like this really, by today's standards, the PC wasn't that great. It was like an Intel Core i5 4660K, I think, quite mid-tier PC build. It was running like a 750 Ti GTX, nothing even great for the time. But I could get away with mid-level gaming. I only really play Street Fighter and stuff. Street Fighter 4 runs, you can run out of Pentium. You can run Street Fighter 4 on a Pentium 4 without much issue, actually. Runs a bit on slow-mo, but that's about it. But everything's still there. Alright, so what I'm gonna do... I'm trying to grab that. I don't need the toolbox. Don't need the Server Explorer, don't need the toolbox here. We actually need the Solution Explorer so I can keep track of things. So on my right, I have the Tic-tac-toe client, and on the left, I have the test bench, which can access the server here in this kind of ad hoc configuration. And what I want to do on the Tic-tac-toe front, let's see, when I call initialize, so make sure everything here is going on right. So I'm going to follow it through from here. I'm going to check out what's going on here, and I'm going to initialize both apps. So many resources, so little memory. Let's go. So I'll start with the LAN mode. See if I can shrink this down a little bit. I'm going to try and find Tic-tac-toe. Understandably, it's taking a little while. Oh, it's already here. Wait. Something's... Oh yeah, it's just deploying. Oops. I was confused. Here we go, Tic-tac-toe. Let me just listen on the classic quickly, see what happens. Sweet, so we have initialize. I just caught that just on time. Initialize client, let's just step through it. Is it F12 or F5? I pressed the wrong button. So, I don't even know what that does. What have I done? Okay, anyway. So initialize client, connect to server. Apologize for the speed here. NetSocket com connects. So this is where things might be failing. Port number 1920, IP address would be my computer. Break here, last line. Just gonna step out. Okay, nothing through there. Okay, so that all went through, but the server was unresponsive. Let's see. I'm gonna go to the main window so I can follow through, make sure I'm following the right functionalities. This is the LAN mode. So when I hit the request, the client request, should be something here. So client server toggle click, I think it's this one. Initialize client, which is this. Connect to server, so have a look. NetSocket com client connects. There might be, these two might be on like two different sockets, I'm thinking, for some reason. That'd be very fascinating. Connect to server, where am I going here? Initialize. Initialize client, fireworks outside, that's cool. I'm decompiling this. Tic-tac-toe on the right. Yeah, I think it is. So it's this version. That's okay, I see. Alright, so I'm connecting to NetSocket.com client connect. I have to look through it on the test bench solution. So what is it? NetSocket.com client connect, which is this, the same functionality. NetSocket.com client connect. So this is what I called. Obviously, because this is in a library, it's not giving me straight up access. There's a way you can make it work though. So what I will do, I will try and debug the client side. Let me see if I can find main window. I want to debug it from like here, see if it will actually allow me access to the files from here. Might be able to put like a preprocessor directive to make that work, I'm not too sure. Or it might be something I can do in the properties. So let me just close this quickly. That'd be interesting if I keep this running and I get an error because 2 connections requested on the same socket. I don't really expect that to happen though. So I might just actually step over or step through this bit, I'm not too sure. Okay, so we're in LAN components, initialize, constructor. We're in the LAN mode, okay, we have access. Probably because it's public, I don't know. Initialize. So now we're calling initialize client. We're in the LAN mode, connect to server. NetSocket.com.connect is a connect functionality, which I was in here before because there's a break. Socket begin, let me just observe this if I can. Let me put something on the watch list. Check the port number. Should be 1920. I want to somehow observe this IP endpoint, but I'm calling it straight in. So I may not be able to observe it straight like that. Let me just check my locals. Okay, that's fine. That's much. I wouldn't be able to see much else. To kind of step into it first. Let's see what we got here. Fascinating. I'm trying to get the local host, so it would be. So I need to check. Oh wait, I can just. Yeah, that's my computer right there. Just want to kind of make sure the socket is actually the same, which it would be. I would assume so. I'm using the excuse me. I'm using the same port number and the host name on both the Tic-tac-toe and the sponge. Begin connect. It's just fascinating. I'm still waiting for the packet data. Because do I have the break here? I just kind of go to my LAN server, make sure I've got my breakpoint set. I'll just go to listen for now. For breakpoint there. Maybe I shouldn't be calling this here. I need to remove that. because I've already got a call there. There's 2 references. I don't know if that's making a difference. Okay, so that doesn't really have an effect. What I'm gonna do. Break here. I'm gonna first stop this. I'm gonna stop the test bench. And I'm gonna remove this because I'm already calling except somewhere else. In my LAN, the class that calls the implementations, which you can see here, I think. Here's a test bench. Yeah. So here's the library. Server, LAN server. I'm calling accept here already. Begin socket. This accept, same thing. So there's no point using that in a way. I think I'll be alright for now. Alright, then let's see if that makes a difference. And then so I'll go through a summary of what we've gone through, and then soon gonna wrap up the stream. Hopefully on the note of we have a bit of communication from the Tic-tac-toe. At least we went through how the socket communication is working. Again, I want this to be in like small bite-sized chunks. These streams like 1 hour. Don't really want to go more than hour 20, 1 hour and a half. So now I can run Tic-tac-toe, but first I'm gonna listen for requests. Let's see what happens. What I'm not too sure about is when I'm calling accept. Oops. Ooh, I don't like that. What's this? What's going on here? Okay, so what I'm gonna have to do, make sure I'm building my directories again. So I had this issue with like directories, whereby I need to always make sure I'm building the directories before I deploy my app. So I'm gonna build LAN mode, and I think that will fix this. Because when I tried to like observe the break, it just wouldn't hit. I had some issues, as I mentioned earlier. I'll build my directories there. I don't think I have the same issue here. I wanna, hopefully that break will be hittable, if I can see. See how we do fine. I'm sure it's only been an hour. Yeah, just over an hour. Ah, goodness. What file? Okay, good. I thought the file was not readable there. Alright, so I'm gonna listen for requests, hit my break, quickly run Tic-tac-toe. Ooh, one is for listen. Now here's the issue. When do I want to call accept? This should obviously be happening automatically. I don't want to mess with this like this. Well, I'm kind of curious now. I want to see what happens. So I'm going to conditionalize. Obviously, I shouldn't have done it like that. I thought that would be great. because I'm still listening on the socket here, so it should hopefully be alright. Yeah, nothing. There's no activity on the test bench. Unfortunately, component initialized. I'm probably gonna get an error. Yeah, only one usage of each socket address. Only one usage permitted. Okay, because I clicked it twice. Would like to solve this on this stream, but it might have to be the next one. With like 1 or 2 more goes if I round up. Continue here. Should restart everything. Let's close that out. Fascinating. Let's see. So this is a calling. One more time. Listen. I can only imagine right now that my socket, these two are listening to 2 different sockets. That's the connections that are actually being established. We want the server to hit a break once we start this, but nothing seems to be happening right now. Obviously, this is within the scope of the library in this solution, which kind of defeats the purpose. Let me see. I'm trying to think. There's probably another way to go about this. Maybe implement some kind of like to check the state of the socket, and maybe doing like a try catch to keep connecting or accepting any connections as they come. Because I couldn't find any event handling members to deal with incoming like information. I think that's all kind of handled with like these async results. I want to say delegates. I'm 100% sure there. I'll give it 5 more minutes ish. When we hit 40 minutes, then if nothing, I'll wrap up the stream. So I want to see what's happening here, and I want to put my socket on the watch list. I also want to see what's happening on the client side, and I'm going to put my socket on the watch list too when I debug. So let me just put a break here, just so I can inspect the elements, the internal members that are not so obvious at first. Check this one. Right, so I'll start with the test bench. Oh, goodness. I'll turn the listening state on. I'm going to add sockets on the watch list to hopefully be within scope. Alright, sweet. And I will also deploy the tic-tac-toe. Hopefully we can view socket here as well. See if there's any discrepancies with any key members that we need for the sockets session. Fascinating. So it's obviously socket is null here. So we have the tic-tac-toe on the right, and we have the test bench on the left. A little bit hard to know what's what. So I guess since we've run through the socket, I want to just kind of see what's going on here. I'm gonna keep stepping. Address family blocking is true. Connect is obviously false. Bound. So local endpoint is 192.168.0.46, and there's my port 1920. Local endpoint here is null, so right now nothing has happened. So I'm gonna see if I can create my local endpoint. This one here, if you guys can't see it, local endpoint. I've established a local endpoint on the test bench, not on tic-tac-toe yet. But I think it's going to be doing that now, I'm not sure. I think this is where we established the local endpoint. Still no. Local endpoint. Ooh, it's completely different. That is so fascinating. Getting a completely different local endpoint. Even the port number is different. This, on my test bench, my 1920 port number is set in the local endpoint. You can see it here as well. But I'm getting a really strange value here. I'm getting like 56449. Probably connected. Basically, what I think has happened, if I can go back, is I've grabbed the wrong IP address. Something. My sockets networking knowledge is limited. I think when I was looping through this for each, return the IP. Let's see what I'm doing for each IP address. I'm trying to see why I'm using this IP. I can't even see it. Get IP address, which I'm using here. When I'm establishing a new IP endpoint, I'm grabbing an IP address from here, which I don't know if I can watch that as well. If I'm out of scope, it might be too late. Yeah, I'm out of scope, so I won't be able to watch that just yet. Locals? Nah. But we kind of seem to establish that, well, there's just two endpoints that are just obviously have nothing to do with each other. IP address is incorrect. It's like 0000. See why that's happening. I mean, I could do a bit of validation there. I would like to avoid hard coding, but for now, it'd be quite interesting to see what would happen if I put a piece of validation that says, okay, if the port number is not 1920, still continue to loop through that for each. I think that would be quite interesting to see. Stop it here for now. It's very fascinating. Tic-tac-toe. LAN component, initialize client. That's not what I do. This one I mean. Okay. So it seems my thoughts. I'm gonna just make notes. So the issues we're running into. The say local endpoints. So I can remember where I left off. So the local endpoints on the test bench and the game client have two different ports, which is good for the socket, obviously. We won't know what socket to connect to. The game client port number is not what I see in code. I have to see what's going on there. And I believe it's because I'm pulling out a different IP address to what I should be using. And I can kind of follow the for each loop to see what I have in my address list array. IP address. I think it's an array, I'm not sure. Or collection, whichever. So when I hit this, I go here. I'll just run that. So here we go. Oops, pick the right button. So here we go. I'll check this. That's my PC, it's fine. 92168.0.46. Okay, let me check this. Let me see what address family has. How many entries do I have in my address family? I can't even see it. Oh, sorry, address list is what I'm looking for. I have 2 entries. So what I need is this one here, number 1. But I'm returning the first one, I think, which is obviously not right. Well, it's not what I need. If address family. Okay. So this, okay, so the issue here is that both my, this is what I think is going on. In my address list, I have 2 IP addresses. I need the one underneath. But they both hold true for the precondition that they both use the Internetwork v6 version, I think. Internetwork, and you can see Internetwork there. So this holds true for the first element, but that's not quite what we're looking for. So I need to alter the precondition here. I'm trying to avoid hard coding. Address family Internetwork, address family Internetwork of version 6. I need to double check that. So, okay, so version 6 is for the first one, as you can see here, Internetwork version 6. Let's see if this is actually the problem. So we're evaluating Internetwork version 6. Let's see if that's the issue. Let's do this one. I could be wrong, actually. It might not step through. Yeah, it didn't. Okay, that's fine. Now I've got Internetwork, and I've got Internetwork. That should be the IP address in question. Which should be this 192. Internetwork, not Internetwork v6. So I return the IP address of my local host machine, which is that. There's my IP. And just for the record, this IP is what you typically find on most local host scopes. So any machine will have some kind of generic IP address of that nature. Mine just happens to be that. If I go back to the socket, I don't think it's even been constructed. I'm not sure. Oh, it has actually. I'm looking for what is it? Local endpoint. Still no. I still have this one here. I think it's a bind. I'm sure there has to be a binding bit even in my client. I'm not too sure, but I haven't changed anything. That's the thing. Begin connect local endpoint still no. This is calling. This is fascinating. Is this gonna call this again? Yeah, I'm getting this weird stuff. I really don't want to hard code things. I might have to just for the sake of testing. How can I do that? Is this settable? Very interesting. So what I'm gonna do, I might just run a really quick test. Just gonna close that. So when I'm calling this, oh snap. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I am tempted to construct this outside of this constructor and then modify the member itself. So when I'm calling new ID endpoint, get address, and all that. This basically wants. I'm trying to hover to the IntelliSense, I can't find it. And I'm kind of working in this scope, so I'm not too sure if I should be really changing anything. But right now, it's fine. I just want to get this working. Off screen, I'll refine things. I'm constructing this new IP endpoint. I'm gonna take it out. Now, I might get error saying the source file has changed, which is to be expected. I want to say something like, I don't know, IP endpoint equals new IP endpoint, and then I call get address. And then I pass my IP endpoint here. Hopefully this version of the source code actually compiles and runs. Get IP address. And then what I should hopefully be able to do is maybe modify the IP address myself, or the socket. I'm not too sure about that. See what I have access to. I don't like that IntelliSense is not coming up, because I don't know what my members are. And I can't navigate underneath. This is because I'm working in this scope of the Tic-tac-toe solution, and really I should be working within the scope of the library and then rebuilding it. I can't even navigate underneath to have a look, which is unfortunate. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this. I have this up, actually, on my test bench, which has actually got my library. Shouldn't be an issue though, because this is just the tic-tac-toe front. I'm going to head to the client's namespace. So fascinating how that just comes up as well. Let's see. Just automatically, that was really cool. Anyway, let me see what's going on. IP endpoints. Okay, so it does need a port number as well. So I'll call the port number here, I'll place it here. And I'll just get rid of this. Now, what can I access? I can just put this here for collapse that. I don't know if I can modify some things in here. So address family, it's only get. I didn't think I can. I wouldn't be able to access that anyway. It wouldn't make sense. Port, I can get set the port number. As long as I'm pointing to the right IP address. Yeah, okay, this is really fascinating. Alright guys, I'm going to try something here, a little bit of experimentation. Don't remember what it was, man. Something like that, I can't remember. Oh yeah, that's the constructor done. Oops. Oh, it's not going to be that trivial, is it? I'm not too sure how to construct this, remember. This is not how I usually do it. I could just maybe just place it in there. I don't know if it's going to work. I think I'm doing this wrong. This is so naive of me, but yeah, that was not right. You don't like doing that. Account number, such. Now let's get IP address. Why don't I do this? Let me see what happens if I do it like this. I need to call the function anyway. Let's say like get IP address. So it gets a bit convoluted. Maybe like this. Okay, I think I'm doing that wrong. IP address, blah blah blah. That's deprecated. Yeah, because you're not really supposed to. Using this property is deprecated. So really, I should be. This is not the way to assign IP addresses, as I know. It's only really for comparisons. Oh boy. At least I hard-coded the port number. I don't know. It shouldn't really make a difference because I'm setting it here in the constructor of IP endpoint anyway. just see what I'm doing. This is gonna be the last shot for the stream, guys. I'm gonna summarize, and then I'm gonna call it a night IP endpoint, get IP address, and just for good measure, I'm setting the port. I'm just gonna put a break here. I'm gonna build it, build my solution to update things. And I'm gonna fire the test bench. And then I'm gonna fire the tic-tac-toe, and then we're gonna have a quick look, and then we're gonna wrap up the stream because it's probably been like an hour and a half now. Don't want this to be long. I'd say just a chill stream, really. Just walking through, exploring this, and obviously I work more off screen. The airtime I have here online is rather limited, but I think we went through a fair bit of code anyway. So if I game sessions mode. So why not? So now I'm in the listening state, hopefully. Initialize a socket. A little bit dicey. Get IP address. Check my addresses. I want this one, which is what I'm returning. First time might not go through, second time it should go through. IP 192.168.46, I wrote that wrong somewhere. Oh, it doesn't matter, I got rid of the code. Okay, that's actually showing 192.168.046.920 now. That stays like that. It is. Okay, that's interesting. And if I go, I've already initialized the site, so I can't check it per se. Oh, this is fascinating. So let's see if we have any changes on the test bench. It'd be fascinating if it works. Was this the member I was looking at earlier? In any case, let's continue and see what happens. Oops. Nothing seems to have updated, unfortunately. You get the packet update here on the monitor. I'm going to double check the local IP endpoint, and then we're going to wrap it up. which I think is in the local in IP address number. I'm not too sure. I can't remember. No, it was socket, I believe. So let's get the IP address first, and I'll observe socket. Local IP, local endpoint rather is null for now. So, yeah. Local endpoint still null. Until we call this. That's the IP address. Socket begin connect. Don't have to call bind for that. Yeah, again, it's weird stuff. Pass the right IP address, local endpoint, socket. Check this. This is what worries me. Why that's showing like this? Shouldn't be. I think. Maybe it is. Maybe it's something else. Alright, guys. I'm gonna cut the stream in a bit. Okay, that's good. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, it's too long. Right, so, guys, where did we get up to? So I basically showed you guys the proof of concept for the LAN mode library. We went through the socket implementation and got a little bit of a snag when we tried to implement the socket connection as a DLL, as I seem to be getting two different endpoints, which is not really the issue per se, but the fact that I was reading two different like socket port numbers on both endpoints just kind of suggested to me that the socket connection wasn't really established between the two nodes, the two endpoints. So we kind of got up to this one, compile the LAN mode project at DLL, and obviously we wanted to kind of send a message to the test bench. We're up to here. So this is where we're going to continue from for the next stream of this particular part of the series. I'm going to be working off stream. It's kind of fun. And yeah, I hope you guys kind of learned maybe a thing or two, if not found this entertaining. And please do keep out for more videos in the series. Thanks very much. My name is Will. Hope you all have a great continuation of your New Year's week. See you next time.